Dusthaven's twin suns beat down mercilessly on the endless dunes of red sand. The planet was known as a place for hardy settlers, the kind of people who could endure heat, dust storms, and alien predators. Even the strongest machines struggled here. A single wrong step, and a traveler could be lost to the desert forever. Yet humans had carved towns, farms, and trade routes out of this unforgiving land. Survival here demanded courage, intelligence, and quick thinking. Alara's convoy moved slowly, the wheels of the hover wagons kicking up clouds of fine dust. She sat inside the smallest wagon, her hands folded neatly in her lap, eyes fixed on the horizon. Her heart pounded quietly. The journey had been long, and she had tried to keep herself calm, but there was a gnawing anxiety she could not shake. She was being taken to meet her intended, a political arrangement meant to strengthen alliances between two human colonies. It was not love, and it was not freedom. She had tried to remain quiet, tried to blend into the soft folds of her cloak, hoping no one would notice how tense she was. The convoy had guards, but even their vigilance could not prevent the dangers that lurked in Dusthaven's open deserts. She glanced at the pale sky, noting the shimmering heat waves, when a sudden rumble made her freeze. It came first as a whisper beneath the sand, then as a roar. Alien raiders appeared over the dunes, their machines crawling like insects across the landscape. Their dark exosuits reflected the sun, and the hum of their energy weapons was low but threatening. The convoy's guards raised alarms, but it was too late. A blur of motion and metal swept through them. Shouts filled the air, the horses whinnied, and the hum of engines clashed with screams. Alara's wagon jolted violently. She clutched the sides, heart hammering, as alien claws and weapons tore through the convoy. She could hear the cries of her fellow humans, the shouts of the guards. Her mind raced, searching for a way to survive. She could not fight them. She had no weapons, no training for such chaos. All she could do was stay quiet and hope for a miracle. Then, through the haze of dust and terror, a figure appeared. A lone man, moving like a shadow over the dunes, his long coat flaring behind him. His hat shaded a determined face, and in his hands were twin pulse pistols that burned blue in the sunlight. He moved with precision, striking raiders down with calm, deadly accuracy. Jax Riker, known among the scattered settlers as the Cowboy, a scout, a wanderer, and in stories whispered at night, a man who could survive anything. Today, he was the miracle Alara had hoped for. With a few swift moves, he cleared a path to her wagon. "Move!" he shouted. His voice was firm, confident, the kind that cut through fear. Alara didn't hesitate. She scrambled out of the wagon, heart racing, and followed him across the burning dunes. Behind them, the convoy was destroyed, the raiders scattered for now. Jax did not speak much as they ran. He led her to the edge of a canyon where an old saloon stood. Its wood was scorched, its windows broken, but it had survived the years and storms, a relic of old Earth. It looked abandoned, but to Jax it was more than that. It was shelter. It was safety. Inside, the air was cool, dry, and heavy with dust. Sunlight filtered through the cracks in the roof, creating slivers of light that danced across the floorboards. The saloon smelled of old wood, sand, and something faintly metallic. Alara stayed close to Jax, her eyes wide as she took in the space. "Sit. Stay quiet," Jax said, moving to the back of the room to check for any threats. Alara obeyed, crouching behind the bar. Her hands shook slightly, and she could feel her heart hammering in her chest. The saloon was silent for a moment. Then came the faintest sound of movement outside, and Jax stiffened. He crept toward the door, peering through the cracks. "Aliens," he whispered. "Not many, but they're looking." But here she was, hiding, heart racing, relying on this stranger who had appeared like a ghost from the dunes. Jax returned to her, eyes scanning the room. "You need to stay quiet," he repeated, "and you need to trust me." The suns moved across the sky, casting long shadows through the broken windows. Every sound outside made her flinch, the whistle of wind, the shifting of sand, the distant hum of alien engines. But the saloon held. Its walls, old and weathered, shielded them from prying eyes. Jax moved around the room quietly, checking corners, opening cabinets, and inspecting the broken bar. He discovered a hidden compartment under the floorboards. Inside were items left behind by humans long gone, old energy cells, some maps, and a small device that glowed faintly with stored power. Jax's eyes lit up. "This place is better than I thought," he murmured. "Old resistance hub could still work if we can power it." "Resistance against who?" she asked softly. He didn't answer right away. He moved to a generator in the corner, brushing off years of dust. "Long ago, humans fought off aliens who tried to take over the frontier. This place, it helped them survive. Maybe it can help us too. They had adapted, survived, and even thrived where others could not. Maybe she could too. The sound of alien patrols echoed faintly in the distance. Jax activated the old generator and a soft hum filled the room. Panels flickered to life, casting blue light over the dusty floor. He smiled faintly. We're not invisible, but we're hidden, for now. The fear was still present, but she realized she was not helpless. She had stayed alive this long by keeping quiet, by watching, by learning. And now she had someone who knew this land, someone who could protect her. They worked in silence for a while. Jax checked weapons, patched broken panels, and explained in simple terms what each device could do. Alara listened, her mind absorbing everything. She even offered to help, reaching for a panel, trying to make small repairs. Jax nodded once, impressed. Not bad, he said. You might survive this after all. And survival, Alara realized, required more than staying quiet. It required courage, intelligence, and the will to act when the time was right. Outside, the wind howled and distant engines hummed. But inside the saloon, humans had carved out a small sanctuary. And for the first time since the attack, Alara allowed herself a tiny measure of hope. She would stay quiet, yes, but she would also pay attention, learn, and survive. She had no choice, but perhaps that was enough. The suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across the dusty floor. The desert beyond the saloon was vast, empty, and deadly. But inside, the light from the generator illuminated two figures, a young woman learning to trust and a man who had learned to fight for survival against impossible odds. Together, they waited. Together, they planned. And together, they would face whatever came next. Alara's journey had begun not in comfort or safety, but in silence, fear, and the harsh light of the desert. Yet for the first time, she felt the stirrings of something new. She felt the quiet strength of humanity, the ability to survive, adapt, and endure no matter the odds. And for now, that was enough. The wind outside the old saloon rattled the broken shutters, carrying with it the dry heat of Dusthaven and the faint, metallic scent of alien machines. Inside, the small blue glow of the generator illuminated dust particles drifting lazily in the air. Alara crouched near the bar, her eyes scanning the dim corners of the room. Each shadow seemed alive, each creak of the floor a potential threat. Jax moved with quiet confidence, testing the doors and windows, peering through cracks to ensure they had not been followed. They're out there somewhere, he said softly. Patrolling the edges looking for easy prey. We're lucky they didn't find us right away. Not if they think there's a reward. He gestured to the old bar, now covered in dust. But we have something they don't. But they can't outsmart us if we use our heads. Inside were remnants of a time long past, empty energy cells, small mechanical tools, and faded maps of the surrounding desert. He picked up a small device that hummed faintly. This is interesting, he said. Old tech, but it still has power. Back when humans fought alien invaders on the frontier, we used these to hide from patrols, ships, and scanners. This one could mask us if we turn it on. But it won't last forever, so we have to be careful. Old buildings, old machines, forgotten knowledge. These were tools waiting for someone to use them. She reached for the generator and, following Jax's instructions, began adjusting its output to power the device. Her hands were steady now, her fear channeled into focus. You've got steady hands, Jax said, nodding. Not many would manage this under pressure. She had been terrified a few hours ago, but now she was contributing. She could survive. She could help. And maybe, just maybe, she could help more than just herself. For a while, they worked in silence. The wind outside was relentless, and every so often, the faint hum of alien engines reminded them that danger was never far away. Jax checked the doors again, looking for scratches in the sand, disturbed footprints, anything that indicated the raiders were approaching. They've been clever so far, he said, crouching to examine the floorboards. But they're not thinking like humans. They're used to strength, speed, and intimidation, not tactics and improvisation. That's where we have the advantage. People left behind clever traps, hidden spaces, things that could give us the edge. These were meant for raiders like the ones outside, he explained. We can use them if we need to defend ourselves, but we need to know when to use them. Timing is everything. The suns moved lower, and the shadows inside the saloon grew long and dark. Outside, the desert seemed quiet, almost peaceful, but both of them knew it was an illusion. Dusthaven had a way of hiding danger until it struck. Alara finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you think anyone else is out there? Other humans? Even in a place as harsh as Dusthaven, even when the odds were against them, they could endure. She thought of her family, her colony, and all those who had been lost. She felt a sense of responsibility. She could not just survive for herself. She had to survive for them, for the chance to rebuild, to warn others, to help humanity endure. The first patrol came closer. Jax motioned for her to stay still as he quietly moved to the window. Through a crack, he observed two raiders moving slowly across the dunes, scanning the horizon. They seemed unaware of the saloon, confident in their pursuit of what they thought was easy prey. Jax activated the tracker jammer, a soft hum filling the air. Outside, the alien sensors would detect nothing unusual. To the raiders, the saloon seemed empty, abandoned, harmless. Alara watched, fascinated. She had never seen technology like this, never realized how humans had fought before, and now she was part of it. She felt her fear shrink slightly, replaced by determination. She would stay quiet when needed, yes, but she would also be ready. Hours turned to night. The desert cooled and the twin moons of Dusthaven rose, casting pale light over the dunes. Jax finally sat near the bar, leaning against the wall. Alara joined him, still crouched but more alert, her mind racing. "You're doing well," Jax said. "Most would have panicked hours ago. You've kept your mind clear, that's what matters." "I've never done anything like this before." The raiders were investigating, curious but so far unaware of their presence. Alara held her breath. She had learned that even silence could be a weapon. Every movement, every sound mattered. She realized that hiding was not passive, it was active. It required observation, strategy, and patience. They waited for hours, the moons rising higher, the desert stretching endlessly beyond the saloon walls. The wind howled through the broken shutters, carrying the distant calls of creatures native to Dusthaven, creatures that could easily snatch an unwary traveler from the sands. Jax finally spoke. "They'll be back. Raiders like these rarely give up, but we have time. We can prepare. We can plan, and we need to use everything this place has to offer. Every tool, every device, every advantage. Humans win because we never stop trying." As the first light of dawn crept across the dunes, the desert outside seemed quiet. Too quiet. Alara and Jax moved quietly through the saloon, inspecting the old floorboards and broken walls, looking for weaknesses they could use. Each corner, each shadow, was a potential advantage. Alara marveled at the ingenuity of humans who had come before them. Hidden spaces, traps, old tech. It was a reminder that survival was a human skill, honed over generations. She realized that even in the harshest conditions, humans adapted, endured, and turned weakness into strength. Jax watched her quietly, noting her focus. "You're learning fast," he said. "By tonight, you'll know how to use this place as well as I do." Ready to face the challenges ahead, ready to survive, ready to fight if necessary. Humanity had survived Dusthaven before, and with Jax's guidance, she would survive too. The wind continued to howl outside, but inside the old saloon, humans were preparing, quietly but decisively. And in that preparation, there was hope. The moons of Dusthaven hung low in the sky, casting pale silver light across the endless desert. The saloon remained quiet, the hum of the generator the only sound inside. Alara moved slowly, inspecting the small devices Jax had uncovered earlier. Each one fascinated her, old human technology repurposed for survival. Energy traps, magnetic locks, and motion sensors all lay scattered across the dusty floor. Jax crouched near a pile of old floorboards, examining their structure. "These can be used as hidden panels," he said. "A raider won't notice a thing, but we can use them to move around without being seen. We turn every weakness into a weapon. Humans have always survived because we can improvise. The aliens are strong, but they don't think like us. That's our advantage." For the first time, fear was mixing with excitement. A dangerous situation, yes, but one she could control if she acted wisely. Jax motioned for her to follow him toward the back of the saloon. He had discovered a crawl space beneath the storage room, large enough for them to move unseen. "We'll use this to watch them," he explained. "If they come back, we need eyes everywhere. We can't afford to be caught off guard." "Let's start with the traps," Jax said. He pulled out a small energy mine, placing it under a loose floorboard near the main entrance. "This will slow them down if they try to come inside. It won't kill them outright, but it will give us time." Each movement counted. Mistakes could cost them dearly. "Good," Jax said. "Now the magnetic doors." He pointed to the double doors at the front of the saloon. We can rig them to lock automatically if the aliens step on the pressure plates hidden in the floor. They'll think the doors are stuck, buy us time, maybe even make them panic. She had never considered herself brave, but here she was, helping plan a defense against a real threat. She realized humans were strongest when they adapted, when they used their minds instead of relying on brute force. The aliens were powerful, yes, but humans had ingenuity, cunning, and patience. They worked for hours, moving quietly through the saloon, inspecting shadows, testing devices, and mapping out the best positions for surveillance. Every window, every broken panel, every old beam became a potential advantage. Alara's confidence grew. She began to see the saloon not as a hiding place, but as a fortress, one they could control. As they worked, the faint hum of alien engines reached them again. Patrols were moving closer, searching for the missing convoy. Jax motioned for Alara to crouch behind a cabinet. Together, they watched through a crack in the wall. Two raiders approached, scanning the dunes. Their exosuits reflected the moon's light, their movements calculated but unaware of the humans hidden inside the saloon. Jax activated a small device, sending a pulse that created a faint shimmer over the building. To the aliens' sensors, the saloon appeared empty, abandoned. Alara held her breath. The aliens passed without noticing them. She realized that hiding was not passive, it was tactical, a skill humans had honed for centuries. Every movement, every sound mattered. Humans survived because they could think, plan, and anticipate. Jax smiled faintly. Good, they haven't spotted us yet, but they'll be back, and next time we'll be ready. She found a weak panel near the back door that could be used to create a hidden escape route if needed. She rigged it with a simple trap, enough to startle the aliens and slow them down. By the time the first light of dawn touched the dunes, the saloon was transformed. Hidden traps, clever devices, and secret passages now filled the building. Jax and Alara surveyed their work, proud of what they had accomplished. They had turned fear into preparation, danger into opportunity. Alara felt a surge of confidence. She had been terrified hours ago, but now she understood something fundamental. Humans survived because we adapted. We used what we had, learned quickly, and never gave up. Even on a hostile planet like Dusthaven, against enemies stronger and faster than us, humans could endure. Rest for a moment, Jax said, leaning against a wall. We'll need energy for what comes next, but keep your eyes open. Even while resting, we watch. She imagined how the aliens might approach, how they might react to the traps, and what her role would be in the defense. Her fear was still there, but it was now tempered with strategy and focus. Hours later, the patrol returned. This time, 3 raiders approached the saloon from different directions. Jax and Alara moved to their positions, hidden but ready. The first raider stepped on a pressure plate. A magnetic lock engaged, and the double doors slammed shut. The raider stumbled, cursing. Alara held her breath as the next one approached the bar. She triggered a hidden panel, and a small energy mine emitted a bright pulse, stunning the raider long enough for Jax to intervene. His movements were precise, calculated, almost effortless. Together, they used the environment against the raiders, every step, every trap a demonstration of human ingenuity. The aliens, though powerful, were unprepared for the tactics humans employed. They stumbled, grew frustrated, and became disoriented by the clever traps. Jax and Alara moved silently, striking only when necessary, using brains over brawn. One raider tried to escape through the back door. Alara activated her trap, a small net that sprang up to entangle the alien. She felt a thrill at the success. Her plan had worked. Humans had survived countless dangers through thinking and cleverness, and now she was part of that legacy. By the time the patrol finally retreated, defeated and confused, the saloon remained intact. Jax and Alara emerged from their hiding spots, surveying the quiet desert. Dust swirled in the early morning light, but the danger had passed for now. Alara exhaled, a smile tugging at her lips. She had faced real danger, participated in planning and defense, and survived. Fear had not won. Strategy, courage, and ingenuity had. She realized that humans thrived because we adapted, because we used our minds and hearts together. Jax clapped her on the shoulder. Not bad for your first battle. You're learning fast. Humans survive because we never give up and we never stop thinking. That's why we endure. We fight with our minds, our courage, and our will to survive. The saloon, once abandoned and vulnerable, had become a fortress. Every shadow, every floorboard, every device was now a tool in their hands. Humans had survived Dusthaven before. Now it was their turn. Alara realized something important as she moved through the saloon. Survival was not just about hiding or running. It was about thinking, observing, learning, and acting. Humans thrived because we could adapt, and she was becoming part of that tradition. The fear that had gripped her hours ago had been transformed into purpose. Jax watched her silently, noting her confidence and determination. She had grown in a single night, learning to turn fear into action. That was humanity, resilient, clever, unyielding. The desert outside seemed calm, almost peaceful, but they knew better. Raiders would return, stronger and more determined. But humans were ready. They would face whatever came next, not with brute force alone, but with intelligence, courage, and strategy. As the suns rose higher over Dusthaven, casting long shadows across the dunes, Alara and Jax prepared for the day ahead. The saloon was no longer just a hiding place. It was a testament to human ingenuity, a fortress built from courage and cleverness. And inside it, humans would survive no matter the odds. Alara stood at a window looking out over the desert. Her heart was steady now, her mind clear. The challenge ahead was great, but so was human determination. She realized that survival was not just about staying alive. It was about thriving in impossible conditions, about turning fear into strategy, and about never giving up. Jax joined her at the window. "We've bought time," he said, "but the real test comes next, and we'll be ready." Humans had survived Dusthaven before, and with courage, intelligence, and determination, they would survive again. The suns of Dusthaven rose higher, casting long shadows over the red dunes. The desert seemed calm, almost serene, but inside the old saloon, tension hung thick in the air. Jax and Alara moved quietly, inspecting the traps they had set the night before. Every panel, every floorboard, every hidden device was ready. The saloon, once abandoned and vulnerable, was now a fortress of human ingenuity. Alara crouched behind the bar, her hands resting on the edge of a small energy device. She had learned how it worked, how to deploy it quickly, and how to trigger it with precision. Her mind raced as she thought about the raiders outside. They were clever, persistent, and dangerous, but humans had something the aliens could never fully understand: strategy, intelligence, and adaptability. Jax moved to the front door, peering through a crack in the shuttered windows. "They're coming," he said softly, a serious edge in his voice. "And it looks like more than before. Reinforcements." She had faced 2 raiders before, relying on clever traps and patience to survive. Now, with more enemies, the stakes were higher. But she also felt a thrill, the kind that came from knowing humans could outthink almost any opponent. Fear was still there, but it was tempered with confidence. She had learned, adapted, and was ready to act. The first wave of aliens approached, their exosuits gleaming in the harsh sunlight. They moved with precision, scanning the horizon, their sensors searching for any sign of life. They expected easy prey, unaware of the defenses waiting inside the saloon. Jax crouched, whispering, "Remember what we practiced. Timing is everything. Wait for the right moment." The raider stumbled, cursing in alien tones, while the others looked around, confused. Jax and Alara stayed hidden, watching as their plan unfolded. Alara triggered the first energy mine. A bright pulse erupted beneath the floor, stunning one raider and throwing him off balance. Jax moved silently through the shadows, taking advantage of the disoriented alien. Each step, each action was precise and calculated. The aliens tried to regain control, but humans had turned the environment against them. Hidden panels gave Jax and Alara perfect cover, while cleverly placed devices slowed the aliens and forced them into predictable paths. Every trap, every tool was a demonstration of human ingenuity. Alara felt a surge of pride. She had learned to act quickly, to think ahead, and to turn fear into action. Humans thrived in the face of danger because we could improvise, and she was living proof. One raider broke away from the group, trying to flank the saloon. Alara's heart raced as she moved to intercept him. She triggered a net trap she had set the previous night. The net shot up, entangling the raider and holding him in place. She stepped back, breathing hard but exhilarated. Humans survived because we could anticipate, adapt, and act together. Jax emerged from a hidden panel, taking down another raider with a swift strike. His movements were precise, almost effortless. Alara marveled at his skill, but she knew she had her own part to play. The battle was not about brute force. It was about thinking, strategy, and courage. The aliens regrouped, realizing they were facing more resistance than expected. They attempted to break down the front doors using brute strength and energy tools, but Jax and Alara were ready. The magnetic locks held, reinforced by hidden beams that could withstand far more than the aliens expected. Alara moved to the bar, activating another device. A pulse of light flashed, temporarily blinding the raiders and giving Jax a chance to reposition. The aliens cursed, frustrated by humans who were smaller, slower, and weaker, but far smarter in this situation. Hours seemed to pass in moments. The aliens attacked, retreated, and tried different strategies, but humans adapted. Every trap, every hidden passage, every device had been designed to respond to unpredictability. The saloon became a maze of advantage for Jax and Alara. One raider managed to sneak toward the back, trying to bypass the traps. Alara noticed him moving through a shadow and acted quickly. She triggered a floor panel that tilted, sending the raider stumbling into a hidden pit. He landed with a grunt, unable to free himself immediately. Jax watched from above, impressed. Good thinking. Humans survive because we use every opportunity. Humans thrived in the harshest conditions because we never stopped learning, never stopped adapting, and never stopped fighting with our brains as well as our hands. The remaining raiders pressed harder, frustrated by the continuous resistance. They used energy pulses to try and disable the devices, but Jax had anticipated this. He and Alara had rigged backups, secondary devices that would activate if the first ones failed. Humans survived because we prepared for every scenario, and their preparation now outmatched the raiders' technology. Alara moved quickly, setting another trap near a window the aliens had been trying to break. As they approached, a magnetic pulse activated, pinning them momentarily to the floor. They struggled, frustrated, and disoriented. Jax moved silently, taking them down one by one with precision strikes. The battle continued, the desert sun beating down, shadows shifting as humans demonstrated their resourcefulness. Every time the raiders thought they had an advantage, humans turned it into a trap. Alara realized that survival was never just about fighting. It was about thinking, planning, and using every tool and advantage available. Hours later, the surviving aliens retreated, confused, frustrated, and beaten by a smaller, seemingly weaker force. Jax and Alara emerged from the shadows, breathing heavily but victorious. The saloon stood intact, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Alara felt a sense of triumph. She had faced real danger, contributed to a plan, and survived. Humans thrived not just because of strength, but because of intelligence, courage, and cooperation. Dusthaven had tested them, but humans had adapted, improvised, and endured. Jax clapped her on the shoulder. Well done. Humans survive because we never stop thinking, never stop adapting, and never give up. Today proves that. And tonight we'll be ready for whatever comes next. Her hands were steady, her mind sharp. She understood now that survival was active, not passive. Humans thrived because we could learn quickly, think strategically, and act decisively. The raiders had been strong, but humans had been stronger in the ways that mattered most. Jax watched her, quietly proud. She had grown in a single day from a frightened traveler to a capable partner in strategy and survival. That was humanity, resilient, clever, and unyielding. The suns dipped lower again, casting long shadows across the dunes. Alara and Jax stood together, surveying their surroundings. The desert was vast and dangerous, but humans had proven once more that survival was possible. They had adapted, used their environment, and outsmarted their opponents. Alara felt a quiet sense of determination. The raiders would return or others like them would come. But humans were ready. They would face each challenge, not with brute force alone, but with intelligence, courage, and unwavering resolve. The old saloon, once abandoned and vulnerable, had become a fortress of human ingenuity. Shadows and hidden passages, traps and clever devices, all stood as proof that humans could endure anything. And inside, two humans had demonstrated what it meant to survive through strategy, adaptability, and courage. Alara's heart was steady now, her mind clear. She understood something fundamental. Humans thrived not because they were the strongest, fastest, or most numerous, but because we adapted, prepared, and refused to give up. Dusthaven had been harsh, unforgiving, and relentless, but humans had survived and they would continue to survive. Jax joined her at the window, looking out over the quiet desert. "They've retreated for now," he said. "But more will come, and we'll be ready. Humans survive, Alara, that's what we do." As the sun set, painting the dunes in shades of red and gold, Alara and Jax prepared for the night. The saloon was quiet now, but every corner, every shadow, every hidden device was a reminder of human ingenuity and resilience. The raiders had been defeated, but the frontier was never safe for long. Alara stood quietly, looking at the horizon. Fear was still there, but it was tempered with confidence. Humans survived because we could think, adapt, and endure, and she was ready to face whatever came next. The desert was quiet at first light. The red dunes of Dusthaven stretched endlessly, painted gold by the rising suns. Inside the old saloon, Jax and Alara moved cautiously, checking the traps and hidden panels they had spent hours preparing. The alien raiders had retreated after their failed assault, but both humans knew that the threat was not gone. Reinforcements or new hunters could appear at any moment. Survival demanded vigilance, preparation, and clear thinking. Alara ran her hands over the floorboards, inspecting the energy devices and traps. She had learned much in the last 2 days, the importance of patience, the value of observation, and the power of human ingenuity. Fear had once controlled her, but now she felt something stronger, confidence. Humans survived not because they were the fastest, strongest, or most numerous, but because they could adapt, learn, and act decisively. Jax crouched beside her, checking the perimeter of the saloon. "We've bought ourselves time," he said, his voice low but steady. "The raiders won't be back immediately, but that doesn't mean we can rest. Humans survive because we think ahead, plan, and prepare for the unexpected. We'll use what they don't expect: speed, stealth, and intelligence." She realized that humans survived because we could repurpose the old, repair the broken, and turn even abandoned machines into tools for survival. As the hovercraft hummed to life, a low vibration resonated through the saloon. The desert outside remained quiet, but both humans were alert. Every shadow, every sound mattered. Jax checked the perimeter one last time. "We leave now," he said. "Quietly, efficiently, and we stay ahead of them." The engines glowed softly, lifting the hovercraft above the red sands. The old saloon faded behind them, no longer a refuge but a reminder of human ingenuity. Every trap, every hidden panel, every clever device had been a tool in their survival. Humans thrived because we could think, prepare, and act when others relied solely on strength or fear. As they glided over the dunes, Alara looked out at the desert. The raiders could return at any moment, but she felt a sense of control. Fear had not disappeared, but it had been transformed into strategy and determination. Humans endured because we could turn obstacles into opportunities. Jax guided the hovercraft toward a series of rocky outcrops, places that would offer cover if they were pursued. He knew Dusthaven's terrain better than most, and he used every dune, every canyon to mask their path. Alara realized that survival often depended on knowledge and experience, another advantage humans had honed for generations. Suddenly, a faint hum reached their ears. Alara tensed, recognizing the sound. Another patrol, smaller this time, was searching for them. Jax didn't panic. Instead, he adjusted their course, weaving through the rocks, using shadows and terrain to remain unseen. Humans survived because we could remain calm under pressure, think logically, and adapt instantly to changing situations. The patrol passed, unaware of the humans gliding above them. Alara exhaled, a small smile breaking across her face. "We did it," she whispered. "We survived again." Humans endure because we never stop striving. Finally, as the second sons of Dusthaven began to dip low, they approached a hidden canyon, one that Jax knew few humans had discovered. It was a place of relative safety, with natural cover and hidden caves. Landing cautiously, they disembarked from the hovercraft. The canyon was quiet, peaceful even, a stark contrast to the chaos they had left behind. Alara looked around, marveling at the rugged beauty. Dusthaven was harsh and unforgiving, but even here humans had found ways to survive. They could endure heat, sandstorms, and alien predators because they adapted, prepared, and never gave up. Jax led her to a narrow tunnel, partially concealed by rocks. "This leads to a small settlement," he explained. "Other humans live there. They've survived here for years, hidden from raiders. We'll find safety, supplies, and allies." As they entered the tunnel, the sounds of Dusthaven faded behind them. Inside, the air was cooler, fresher, and strangely comforting. Small signs of human habitation appeared: footprints, tool marks, faint lights from hidden energy sources. Humans had carved life out of a harsh, unforgiving desert, proving once again that survival was in our nature. At the end of the tunnel, they emerged into a hidden valley, lush with sparse vegetation and small pools of water. The settlement was modest but thriving, humans moving quietly, tending to crops and machinery. It was a living example of perseverance and ingenuity. Alara felt a sense of awe. Humans had survived Dusthaven, building a network of hidden communities that could endure even the most dangerous conditions. Her fear was replaced with hope. Humans endured because we could learn, adapt, and work together. Jax guided her through the settlement, introducing her to the inhabitants. They were wary at first, but when they saw the determination in Alara and the skill in Jax, they welcomed them. Humans had a way of recognizing resilience in others, a shared understanding that survival was not just individual but collective. Alara was given food, water, and a place to rest. She sat quietly, reflecting on the journey. The convoy attack, the saloon, the traps, and the battles, it had been terrifying, exhausting, but she had survived. Humans thrived because we could endure hardships, turn fear into action, and use knowledge to overcome impossible odds. Jax joined her, sitting silently for a moment. "You did well," he said. "Humans survive because we adapt, think, and act. You've proven that today." Humans had built hidden caches, defensive systems, and clever communication networks to warn others of danger. Dusthaven was still perilous, but humans had turned it into a place where life could endure. She realized that survival was never just about strength. It was about adaptability, intelligence, and cooperation. Alara and Jax shared their experiences, teaching others about the traps in the saloon, the clever use of old technology, and the importance of strategy. The settlement welcomed the knowledge, and humans began preparing for the future. Raiders would return, other dangers would arise, but the settlement was ready. Humans survived not by luck, but by foresight, preparation, and cleverness. One evening, as the sun set and the valley glowed in shades of red and gold, Alara stood on a ridge overlooking the settlement. She reflected on her journey, the fear, the hiding, the traps, and the battles. She realized that humans survived because we could endure, adapt, and think ahead. She turned to Jax. "We can't just survive. We can help others survive too. That's what humans do." Dusthaven had tested them, but they had endured. The moons rose, casting silver light over the valley. The settlement was quiet, peaceful, and thriving. Inside, humans had proven once again that we could survive even in impossible conditions. Alara had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and she had emerged stronger, wiser, and determined. Jax stood beside her, looking out over the settlement. "We've survived today. Tomorrow we prepare for the next challenge, and humans will endure because that's what we do." Dusthaven could be harsh, the universe could be dangerous, but humans endured, and we would continue to endure. For the first time in days, Alara felt at peace. Fear was still there, but it was tempered by knowledge, experience, and the strength of human ingenuity. They had survived the desert, outsmarted the raiders, and found a safe place. Humans thrived not because of strength alone, but because of courage, intelligence, and the will to endure. And as the suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the red dunes, Alara realized something profound. Humanity would survive, thrive, and endure no matter the challenges, no matter the dangers. Dusthaven had tested them, but humans had triumphed. She took a deep breath, feeling the quiet strength within herself. The journey was far from over, but one truth remained clear. Humans endure, humans adapt, and humans thrive. And that was the greatest power of all.